I would like now to introduce our main speaker, David D.
I'm David. I'm an addict. Hope this thing works. I thought I was gonna be nervous, but I'm not. That's a good thing. All right, so I'll just jump straight into my story. Like everybody else, I have two parents, mom and a dad, and so I'll give you a little background first. Both my parents were addicts. My dad was a career criminal. He was in and out of prison my whole life, and my mom suffered from mental health, like big time, schizophrenic, bipolar. The list probably goes on. That's all I can observe as a child, But so I grew up in a house where it really wasn't quite like a house, I want to say house, but we lived all over the place. Like you named the city in LA, we lived there for a month or 2, 3 months, went to 100 different schools. Like I said, it wasn't like the best environment. And it wasn't exactly, but it was all I knew at the end of the day, Like I said, both parents being on drugs, I seen a lot, I witnessed a lot, I went through a lot. And okay, I'll just jump right into it. My memory began developing around 4 years old, right? And I have two brothers at the time too. I have two younger brothers, by the way. One year younger, the other one is 4 years younger. So both parents, like I said, both parents are on drugs. There's domestic violence in the house. There's child abuse in the house. My mom used to whoop my ass, and my dad would kind of get into it with her over it. There's drug use in the house. There's cheating going on. Like you name it, it's fucked up. But like I said, this is all I know, so I don't know how bad it is yet. I'm pretty much used as like this witness in a toxic relationship as to like when they're cheating on each other. It's kind of like all over the place. And like I said, growing up though, even though like it was a bad environment, I really liked sports. Both my brothers liked sports. That was kind of like our safe haven. My parents, they used to like to smoke at the park. We used to like play basketball at the park, so it's kind of like a perfect mix. But I'm gonna jump into, so 9 years old. Like I said, this went on forever. I don't want to get too far into it, but this went on till I was about 9 years old. And my dad caught a prison term, and my mom wasn't fit enough to like basically raise her children by herself. Like I said, she suffered from all kinds of mental health. And so my grandparents, they stepped in, and we went to live with my grandparents. I was about to turn 10 years old, and I got the biggest culture shock of my life. So like I said, before 10 years old, I lived in like tweaker hotels and trailer parks and like Section 8 apartments that we'd always, my mom would always get us kicked out of because she's arguing with everybody. And so I go from all that to just one Halloween 2002. We moved to my grandparents' house. Now we live in a 2-story house in Norwalk. We got a basketball court, but I got like a crazy culture shock, because for 9 years, I didn't know what a bedtime was. I did whatever I want. Both parents are on drugs. You basically do whatever you want. There's no bedtime. You fall asleep where you fall asleep at. You don't fall asleep in your bed. You just fall asleep watching TV. You might fall asleep outside. You know what I mean? Like it could vary. And so at 10 years old, I got introduced to structure. And it was a major culture shock for me. I butted heads with my grandparents over it for a minute, but that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because my life I wound up fucking my life up, and I can only imagine what it would have been like had I stayed in the environment I stayed in. And so as a kid though, I did really good in school, through all that shit, I always did really good in school, and they would try to hold me. We wouldn't attend school enough where they would attempt to hold me back, and the crazy part about that, like, we would wind up taking placement tests. Like they wound up like giving us tests, and I would still perform well enough on the test where like they never held me back. But my attendance was very shaky. Like I said, when your parents are on drugs, school's not exactly a priority. But about 10 years old, we got out of that. Like I said, we moved to Norwalk. I attended Cesar Chavez Elementary, and it was the first I started there in January of 2003, and I remember I finished that school year in June 2003, and I was like, damn, I went to the same school for 6 months in a row, and the next year I did the same thing in 5th grade. I went to the same school for a year in a row, so I'm beginning to develop like some kind of consistency, even though I'm adjusting to the structure, because my grandma, she was a very loving grandma. My grandpa was like the biggest fucking asshole ever, but he wound up being like the best thing that ever happened to me, because even though we butted heads, he kind of like taught me what being a man was. he held me, basically no one had ever held me accountable before, and he introduced me to all that shit, you know, and we butted heads over it, and I wound up being like a pretty good kid until about what was it, about 15, I believe. I started smoking weed at 15. I can't remember, 15 or 16, somewhere in there. I started smoking weed, and you know, like being they were, my grandparents were like pretty good parents, you know, like they recognized all that right away, like, well, something changed, you know what I mean? Like they're not stupid. About 6 months later, I was introduced to ecstasy, and that is what fucked me up, you know, ecstasy. I was hooked on that for about 6 months, and that wasn't very, so when I was at the time, I'm an honor student, I'm an AP student, right? And I barely got on ecstasy, and so I'm stuck in these fucking AP classes, and I'm either showing up, and I don't know if anybody's ever popped those kind of pills before, but I'm showing up, and my head is somewhere else, or I'm there and I'm falling asleep, you know what I mean? And I'm stuck in these classes, and everybody's like, you know, like all kinds of shit's going to get there. The school's writing my house, like, oh, what the fuck, like, it's all bad, and I wound up getting off that just in time to, I still managed to graduate high school through all that though, you know. I graduated high school with like a 3.01, and I basically, my junior year, I just fucked it all off. Like, had I not fucked my junior year off, I would have like been able to go anywhere I wanted and all that. But so at 18, I kind of all over the place with the story. Haven't done this in a while, but at 18, I graduated high school. I'm headed the wrong way like a motherfucker, you know what I mean? I'm hanging out with the wrong people. I'm doing the wrong things. I'm on the verge of getting kicked out of my grandparents' house, so I made the decision to move to Arizona. You know, I just wanted a fresh start. And it was probably one of the smarter things I ever did at the time, because everything that I ran away from in that moment, like everything I wanted to get away from in that moment, when I did move back out here, I wound up running into it, you know what I mean? All that stuff. Like I'm hanging out with the wrong people, I'm doing the wrong things. My life revolves around drugs and alcohol at this point, you know what I mean? And I'm 18 years old and I need to get away from this, and I do. And I wound up moving to Arizona, and I moved in with my other grandparents, and it was a fresh start. I was 18 years old, I got a job, I started working, and I decided not to go to school that year. I was supposed to go to college, I decided not to. I'm gonna take a year off, I'm gonna get a job. And that year turned into 14 years till I went back to school, you know, of that typical guy. But living with my grandparents in Arizona, I lived with them for about 2-3 years, and I did all right there, you know. I was still drinking, I was still smoking weed, but I wasn't using any type of drugs yet, you know. The first time I ever tried meth was actually, I was 18 years old, and I'm a stoner at the time, right? I'm a stoner, I drink, and I tried meth for the first time. I was up all night. I seriously didn't like it. Like, I just didn't like feeling that way, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't my taste yet, you know? I'm used to smoking weed, laughing, going to sleep, and I hit the pipe, and I'm fucking up for like 2 days, and I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, this is not my thing, you know? I genuinely didn't like it. I tried it again the second time when I was 21 years old, I believe. I was like on a New Year's Eve party, and I snorted a line. I was drunk as fuck. I didn't even feel it. I just went home, went to sleep that night. And like I said, at this point, I'm not really into drugs at 21 years old, but I'm beginning to like, I'm drinking a lot. You know, when I turned 21, I began going to the bar. And at the bar was where, I didn't start off as an alcoholic, but I fell in love with the lifestyle, you know. I was introduced to, basically, I'm 21 years old, right? This is my first time where I'm drinking. I'm having sex with girls like 6, 7, 8, 9 years older than me, and I fell in love with that lifestyle, you know, like, because, yeah, like at that point, that lifestyle became addictive, and what happened? Yeah, so like that's what got me hooked on alcohol, was like the fun that came with it, you know, being out all night with your friends, having sex with girls, all that stuff, and it didn't last very long though, because I wound up meeting when I was 20, about March. I turned 21 December 2013, and March 2014 I wound up meeting this girl that I married a few years later. Her name was Erica. I'm 21 years old, right? I'm 21 years old. I run into this girl named Erica. I've been living with my grandparents my whole life. All this. I meet this girl with 2 kids, and her man had barely went to prison, and so I jump into the picture, right? And so I'm a kid taking on all this responsibility. Me and her, we move in together. We start paying bills together. she is the breadwinner at this point. She's a bartender, and I'm like, where the fuck was I working at? I can't remember. I was working at Target when I met her, so I'm like doing carts in the fucking parking lot, making like $8 an hour, dude. You know what I mean? Like a minimum wage ain't shit in Arizona, and fucking sorry for cussing so much, but yeah, I'm doing carts in the parking lot, and I'm like this little kid, like this 21-year-old little boy, and I meet this grown woman with kids, and I just jump into this responsibility, and I wound up answering the call for a couple years, but it just didn't last very long. You know what I mean? Her and I, we also had a very toxic relationship. You know, everything that I was exposed to as a kid, like that's why I really can't judge my parents for anything they ever went through, because I went through the same shit, and I think it's my fault for participating in it. But at the end of the day, like I was there. You know, I know what I did. There's things that I shouldn't have done in front of the kids that I may have tried to prevent, but at the end of the day, my actions were like, you know, if you're gonna be cheating on your girl, you know what I mean? You gotta like, they don't, you know what I mean? You can't, she wants to fight in front of the kids and shit, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's my actions that brought that on me, you know what I mean? If you're gonna be cheating on your girlfriend, you can't get mad at that reaction, you know? Like I brought that on myself, you know? So her and I, we stayed together for about 3-4 years in Arizona. We wound up moving to Phoenix. I was working at I got a job at a Golden Corral, and like I said, let me go backtrack a little bit. So at this point, I'm like a full-fledged alcoholic. Somewhere throughout the relationship, I don't know what happened. I dated. She's a bartender. I get hooked on. I'm basically a full-fledged alcoholic at this point. I'm drinking before work. I'm drinking during work. I'm drinking after work. You know what I mean? It's all day long, and she's getting tired of it. But she tolerates my bullshit. You know what I mean? She tolerates all that, and her and I, from alcohol, I went straight into meth. You know, the third time I tried meth, I was 24 years old, and I believe it was Mother's Day 2017. I don't know how I remember dates, but I do. Yeah, it was Mother's Day 2017, because so she was the type of smoker, like she didn't smoke that often, but she would do it, you know what I mean? And the third time I smoked, it was with her. And she was one of her biggest regrets, because from that day forward, like I no longer drank, like I smoked dope. That's what I wanted to do, you know what I mean? From 24, and then it went on. We moved to Phoenix in 2017, because like I said, the third time I ever smoked dope, I wound up catching an armed robbery case that like it's how do I explain this one? Like, it was dismissed without prejudice, so like I don't want to like talk about it too much, but I catch this case, so we get paranoid. We move to Phoenix, and this is still going on. You know what I mean? Like the relationship's still fucked up. I'm treating her like shit. I'm trying to be a parent, but I'm not doing a very good job at it. But I'm working 2 jobs. I'm doing everything I got to do, but the relationship's falling apart. You know what I mean? At this point, I'm like a full-fledged addict, you know, and I have no idea what any of this means, though. Even though I have a father who works in recovery, like I need help, and I don't even know it. I don't even know how to ask for it at this point. You know what I mean? She wound up leaving me for another dude. Yeah, I'm all over the place in this story, but yeah. So I somewhere in that story, I got on probation, right, and so my probation officer makes me go to rehab, you know, because I'm on probation. I can't produce clean piss for my probation officer, and I'm letting her know in advance, though, you know. I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna waste your time. Like, I'm high as fuck. Like, I'm not gonna come in and pee. Like, and so she forces me to go to rehab, and at this point, my ex-wife, she's tired of my bullshit. You know what I mean? She kept threatening me. She'd leave me, and finally she did, and you know, so it was like my 5th or 6th day in rehab. Like that night, I went to sleep, right, and I had a wife, I had 2 stepkids, I had 2 cars, I had an apartment, right. In the morning, I woke up and I opened a text message on my phone, and just like that, like I didn't have shit. Like, you know what I mean? I'm stuck in this rehab. If I leave, I'm gonna fucking get locked up. And she decides she wants to take off with all my cars, well, both my cars. We got a little bit of money in the bank. She doesn't want anything to do with me, you know. So that was the first time I ever knew how like powerful my addiction could be, because this is my theme of my story. I lost everything more than once, and that was the first time I lost everything. And I literally lost everything just over a text message. That's that simple, you know what I mean? I didn't take her warnings very serious. I took her for granted like a motherfucker, you know what I mean? But that didn't stop my addiction, man. It went on. I had a friend who, I was working at a Golden Corral, right? And I had a friend, they just opened a Golden Corral in Victorville. And he's like, man, he's like, you know, you're one of my better guys out there. I want you to come out here. I'll send you out to Oklahoma. We'll get you certified. He's helping me get my, you know, he's like, he gives me it was a 2007 Mitsubishi Eclipse. He helps me get back on my feet, right? And like he literally hooked me up in every way he ever could. He felt bad about me getting fucked over, and he tried to bless me. And that didn't keep me sober either. It didn't keep me clean, didn't keep me sober, nothing. I stayed clean for about a month and a half. And then you would think like this next part would be like a wake-up call. But I'm out there in Yuma, Arizona, right? And I don't even know what I'm doing out there at the time. I live in Victorville, and I'm just out there partying. And I'm walking. I get pulled over because I don't have a license, and the cops are being cool, and they're like, go ahead and park your car, and just come back and get it another day, right? So I start walking to a friend's house, and it's about 6 in the morning, and I remember looking right because my connect's house is right there, and I looked at his house, and I was like, nah, I need to go to sleep. I need to go home. I need to go to someone's house, go to sleep. And I keep walking, and after that, I blacked out. I wound up getting hit by a car. I broke both my legs.
What?
Yeah, I broke both my legs, and I didn't go under the car, thank God. I went over the car. I don't remember it, but the guy says, like, I tried to jump over it, and if I didn't, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, you would think that would be, like, the wake-up call. But the addict in me at the time kind of justified it, like, well, if I would have fucking turned right and went to smoke, like none of that shit would ever happen, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, but that didn't stop me. That was probably like the worst thing that ever happened to me, was getting hit by that car, because I don't know if anybody here's ever got hit by a car before, but well, I got 40,000 though, and that was like the worst fucking thing that ever happened to me, you know what I mean? Yeah, I spent the next, so I moved back to LA at that point. I had $40,000, and I spent the next about 3-4, I went through it like 3-4 months, and you can already imagine what I did with it, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know. Yeah, so that didn't wake me up, that didn't stop me. But throughout that process of wasting all that money, I wound up meeting a girl that I wound up spending the next, I think, 5 years with. Her name was Stefania, and I spent the next 5 years of my life. We lived in her apartment in Redondo Beach. We didn't do anything at all. We literally just got high in her mom's house, and we stayed stuck in there. Yeah, not much happening there, but that went on for about. In the process of that, though, I went to rehab a couple times. I was in and out of jail a few times. In the first few times I ever went to a program, I really didn't learn anything at all. I would do everything they told me to do because they told me to do it, and that was that, you know what I mean? They told me to get a sponsor to graduate. I got a sponsor just to graduate, you know? They say do this step so you can graduate. I do that step just so I can graduate. I never really locked in, focused, and did any work until I got here. And for me, the first time I ever locked in and started like really working on my recovery was in primary group, you know what I mean? I'm sure you guys all do primary group. I would advise everybody in here to like focus in there. You do there's a lot of good writing to do in there, you know what I mean? And when you get out of here, you follow that up, get with your sponsor, you know what I mean? Get a sponsor, work the steps. I fell off too for a while. I took on a lot of responsibility after RBH. I started working a lot of hours. I started going to school full time, and I didn't have time to work with a sponsor. And just recently, I had time open up, and I did. That was the first thing. It's cool. That was the first thing that popped in my mind. You know, I'm gonna get a sponsor. I'm gonna work with him, and I actually do have one. I won't say his name yet because I like. Yeah, but yeah, man. Like I said. It's crazy too, because the way I got here was it was like a luck shot. I got to Fred Brown's on a DCFS case for a kid that wasn't mine, and if it wasn't for that moment, I really don't know like what would have got me here or what, you know what I mean. I would probably still be going on. That motivated me to change. You know, like I came here to get custody of a kid that wound up not being mine, and I just hung on, you know what I mean? There was a big turning point where once like whenever that popped up, whenever something like that pops up for me, like you have motivation, right? You lose the motivation, and somehow I managed to hang on through losing the motivation. And because I genuinely know, like, I'm done, right? Like my greatest strength is I have no urges, I have no cravings, right? And I can't say I did any work on that. Like, that's all God, you know? I don't know what happened to the urges. I don't know what happened to the cravings. I'm not looking for them either, but they're removed. Like, there's nothing in me that ever wants to get high ever again. Like, I through trial and error, I know that if I get high right now, I go to jail. That's a fact. It may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, but it's gonna happen, right? If I get high right now, I'm gonna fuck everything up I have going for me. Everything in my track record suggests that's what I do every single time. I will lose everything. I've done it more than once. Like, I know this will happen. It's inevitable. If I pick up a pipe, I fuck everything up. I literally become a fucking superhero, and my superpower is you just fuck yourself over. Like, that's all that fucking happens to me. I'll fuck everything up. Like, everything. I'll fucking sell everything I have. I'll fucking waste everything I have. I'll fuck over anybody who has my back. Like, I will fuck everything up if I get high right now. And I was blind to that for a long time, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't understand why either. It's very confusing if you ever look back at your track record and you think, like, what was I thinking when I thought that? Like, I don't fucking know, dude. Like, I know, it's a trip. Yeah, I would advise you guys though, man. I know a lot of you guys are going to RBH soon. When you get there, man, just lock in, take it serious. You know, you can build a really good foundation at RBH. Like 6 months, 9 months, a year. It's a long time to fucking build a foundation. A very long time. Build like, discipline yourself. You know what I mean? Just set some goals and accomplish them, man. That's all I got. I hope I did all right, but.